Welcome to the Inflectra webinar on Rapise 7.1 new features and enhancements. So today we'll go over the most important features that we added in Rapise 7.1, and we will have a short demo of some of them. My name is Denis. I'm working on Rapise for many years, and I'm one of the creators of this tool. So here you may see my contact details, and if you will need to contact me, so you can use them. So Rapise 7.1. First of all, if you need to find out the full list of enhancements or improvements that we did in some version of Rapise, you can always navigate to rapisedoc.inflectra.com and find this release notes menu item on the main menu toolbar. Here we go. And on the left side, we have the latest versions of Rapise, and 7.1 is the latest one. And here you may see the summary. In the summary, we always have our most important features and enhancements. And here is the changelog. Here we have features. We have new object API. So if for some objects in Rapise we added more actions or properties. Here you may also see improvements and bug fixes. So this is the direct link to Rapise 7.1 new features and enhancements. Okay, let's start from the biggest features that we added in this release. So the first one is support for OracleForms. OracleForms is a Java application that you may run on a desktop or by using some browser like Internet Explorer. So if you are familiar what it is, then you will definitely be interested in how Rapise can do recording and playback for OracleForms. And we will have a separate webinar on this, where we will talk about OracleForms support in great detail. So this webinar will be in the first half of November, so pretty soon. If you want to find more information about OracleForms support before this webinar, you can go to inflectra.com, our website. You can go to Rapise, and here choose platforms at the top. And this is the list of different platforms that Rapise supports. OracleForms is considered as a desktop. And if we will scroll down, here is the Oracle ERP or Oracle Fusion. And this is an article that outlines what support we added for OracleForms. Rapise can do recording and playback for different types of simple controls like combo boxes, edit boxes, buttons. And also Rapise has support for grids in OracleForms. This is very important because grids are used everywhere in ERP applications. So next is we did a major upgrade of our UFT migration tool. We started this tool a couple of years ago, and when we first started it, our idea was to convert the full UFT script into Rapise format, and we converted everything. And recently, we discovered that this is not a very good way of conversion. And finally, we decided to do it a bit differently. So we do the conversion, but we do not change the script itself. So our goal was to have the script looking pretty much the same as it was before conversion. So for example, here you may see a screenshot of a script in UFT. And if we will look at the converted version in Rapise, then there you may see the same actions, the same hierarchy of modules. And if you know how the test worked in UFT, you will easily understand how it is now working in Rapise, and you will be able to change it. Also, here is a screenshot of Visual Basic code of a test in UFT, and this is how it looks like in Rapise. So it's the same API that UFT is using, so it's very easy to understand the script because it's the same script, not VB script now, but JavaScript, but it is the same. And we will have a separate webinar on UFT conversion as well, and we will have it in the second half of November. So stay tuned, and if you're interested in UFT migration, then definitely attend this webinar. If you want to find some information about the migration that we do, then you may simply make a search like Rapise UFT converter, and then you will end up at this page, and this is two-part article that explains how we do the conversion. Okay, going next. This is the major thing that we added in Rapise 7.1. This is Spira-managed floating licenses. Before Rapise 7.1, we had just machine-locked licenses. So it means that when you install Rapise, you enter the key and Rapise is locked to this particular machine. If you want to use your license on another machine, you need to deactivate Rapise on the machine where you're using it right now, and then activate on another machine. It is time-consuming, not very flexible. This is why we decided to add support for floating licenses in Rapise. And for floating licenses, Spira is used as a manager for those licenses. So here you may see a screenshot of admin interface for floating license management in Spira. So you can see active session, you may end the session, and you may see how many floating licenses you have, how many of them are used at the moment. So this is the admin dashboard in Spira. So let's compare what are the main differences between machine locked license and the floating license. So the traditional license that you all know, it is annual payment. It is one price for the first year and less price for renewals. With such a license, you get free execution with Rapise launcher. So you may install Rapise on many machines and use it for execution there. You cannot do development of tests without a license, but for execution, you don't need a license. And machine lock license can be used with or without Spira. So here you have a choice either to use Spira or not. If you switch to floating license, then here we have monthly or annual payment. And now license is required for execution as well, and it requires a Spira subscription. On the next slide, I summarize some benefits of the floating license that you may be interested in. So it's flexible, and if you're using Rapise in the office or you have to work remotely from home or on your laptop, then with the floating license, you get this freedom. So you may use your copy of Rapise from anywhere you are connecting to your Spira instance. Monthly payments available. You don't need to pay upfront fee for the full year. And payment can be combined with Spira subscription. So everything is managed in one place. And if we will talk about the pricing, then floating license is more expensive than one machine with locked license, but it is less expensive than two. And so if you can effectively share the usage of Rapise between team members, then in some cases you may not only get the freedom of usage, but you may also save some money with the floating license. And floating license will be 100% available for use when you will upgrade and you will use Spira 6.13. And it is planned to be available in the middle of November. So this is the next version of Spira that will be released. Okay, going next. So besides big features that I just described, we also did a lot of improvements and enhancements to the Spira dashboard tool that we introduced in Rapise 7. And now we will have a demo of these new features. We had productivity improvements that help to easier navigate in the dashboard. We have a new way of passing input parameters to a test set, which may be very convenient for some testers. We also have parallel execution of test cases in Rapise Launcher, and I'm going to demonstrate it as well. And there is an option to automatically rerun a test set if it is failed. So let me switch to Rapise at this point. And to save some screen space, I will turn off my camera for some time. And at the end, I will turn it back and we will have a Q&A session. Okay, so let's see what improvements we have in the dashboard. In Rapise 7.1, in the top right corner of the dashboard, we have a badge that indicates what user is logged into Spira. So you may see it right here. Also, now you may use double click in many places to do some things faster. For example, if on the main dashboard page you want to open a specific test, then you may simply double click it and it will be opened in Rapise. Also, if you will go to test cases section, if you want to expand the details of a test case, then you may double click the name of the test case and you will see the details. In Rapise 7.0, you had to always click on this plus icon to expand and to collapse test case. Also, you may use double click for test set as well, so expanding the details. And in some other places, you can also use double click. So this is productivity improvement. So let's see how you may pass effectively different sets of data for your test set. So I have a test set prepared here with the name test configuration. Let me expand it and show you some details. So now you may see a section with attachments. So these are attachments that you may also add in Spira. So let me open the test set in Spira. And on the attachments tab, you see those attachments. So here you may add a new attachment, add existing from the documents module. And now you may do the same in Rapise. So you may create new, or here you may even create new one. And you may upload or link existing file, or you may create a new one. So let's see how it works. If I click on create new, I am presented with this form that I need to fill in. So I need to provide the name for my file. let it be data CSV. I may specify the document type. Default is okay usually. Document folder where I want to put this file, some text, and here I may specify the contents of the file right away. So this is CSV, so it is comma separated values. First, I need to specify column names and then some values. And I may upload this file and it is displayed here. I already have a login CSV and I may edit it if I want. And here I have 2 lines of data. So this file specifies username, password, and the line with librarian and the line with borrower. Let's see how to use it to run the same test set with different input data. Now, if we scroll down the test set, if you added custom properties with the Spira dashboard, so let me quickly switch to Spira dashboard. To have all the required custom properties in your instance of Spira, you need to navigate to Spira dashboard main page, and here is the button, Create Custom Properties for Rapise. So here you need to use administrator credentials, username, and API key. When you use them, Rapise will create all the necessary custom properties in Spira, and those properties will make many things available within integration between Rapise and Spira. And you may do this many times. Rapise won't create duplicate custom properties, so this operation is safe. So let's return to test sets, expand test configuration. And here we now have input data property. I may click on it, and this is the combo box. It lists all the attachments with CSV and Excel extensions. So if you have such attachments, here you may just choose what data to use for execution. So here I have login CSV selected. So now I may execute this test set locally right from the dashboard, and it should run the test set twice. So one time for every line in the login CSV that we have as an attachment. So let's go to Action, Execute. And the first time, Rapise will use librarian, and the second time, borrower and borrower. Also, you may notice that now we have an in-progress indicator in Rapise, so you may see that something is executed. It's easy to see that something is happening if you are running on the local host, but if you want to run it on a remote machine, then this thing is really important. To run on a remote machine, you may go to Action and choose Execute on Host, and here select on which automation host in your environment you want to execute this test set. So after execution, if we will go to test runs, here we had 2 test runs actually. Login with the first row of data from our CSV file. If we will scroll this down, we can see that username and password are equal to librarian. And if we will expand this one, the second one, then here we should see borrower. One more feature that we added in Rapise 7.1, if you want to filter and see only test runs of the specific test set execution, then every test set execution is now given a tag. So this is the last column in this table, and we may right-click any test run here and choose filter by tag. And we see only test runs of this specific test set execution. If it is execution with different lines in input data table, then here we see config1, config2. So this is the number of a line that was used to get this test run. Okay, let's now return to test set back. So we had our file attached to Spira, but there is also an option to have the file with input data right in your Git repository. So let me expand one more test set here. And here I don't have any attachments, but if we will scroll to input data custom property, it now has a value which starts with git root in percent signs, and then this is the relative path from the root of the Git repository that my test set is using. So I may have different input files in my repository, and in a test set, I may easily select what data to use for execution. So it may be useful for some testers as well. Okay, what's next? Parallel execution. We will have a separate webinar on parallel execution as well. So today I will show you some basics. But we will have a specific webinar on this topic where we will dive deeper into the details. So let's now quickly see what you need to do to execute your test cases in parallel. So in this project, I have several test cases, as you may see, so 5 of them. Let's now go to test sets and expand parallel execution. And I have all of these test cases selected. What I need to do to run these test cases in parallel. So first, Rapise supports parallel execution if you do web testing and you use Selenium for execution. The same works for mobile testing and for web services testing for SOAP and REST tests. So before to run this in parallel, first you need to go to every test case and mark it that it is ready for parallel execution. So a test case has a new custom property with the name ready for parallel run. So if you are sure that this test case can be executed in parallel, then you need to set this flag. So then in your test set, if all the test cases included have this flag enabled, then it may run in parallel. The last thing to do is to find run test in parallel property here. So we may deselect it, or if it is not selected, we may select. So when we have this value here, so true, run tests in parallel, then all the test cases will be executed at once. All the test cases included into this test set. If you want to limit the number of test cases that are running in parallel, then you may set this value, max parallel tests. It's the last one. By default, it is 0. It means that everything should run in parallel. If you want to limit the number, then you may set it here. So let's now execute this test set. We have 5 test cases, and they all should start hope it will be resolved soon. I had some small connection issue. This is why maybe you did not see my screen for a second. So let's run this parallel test set. So execute. And now we should see 5 Chrome instances appearing on the screen simultaneously. So, and we may put them aside, so you may see that all the interactions are in parallel. So this is the way to speed up test execution. Okay, so let me quickly ask in chat. Alexei, are you on the line? Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, everything is fine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, so what's next? I just showed parallel execution and option to automatically rerun a test set if it failed. So here I have one more test set prepared. It contains a test case that may fail for some reason. And so what happens sometimes? You schedule your test set to be executed nightly, and the test set starts to execute and it fails at the beginning. It may be a problem that like I had a few minutes ago, so no internet connection or application server was in sleep mode, and then test set may fail. So if it happens frequently, then now you have a choice, and you may set rerun test set if failed option. It means that if test set for some reason failed, then Rapise launcher will relaunch it and will run it once again. And maybe on the second execution round, everything will go smoothly. So let me execute this test set. Action, execute. I know it will fail because of input parameters. Login was not successful, and now Rapise launcher should execute it once again. And if we now will go to test runs, here we may see, let's filter by tag. This is the first execution, and this is rerun all the same test set. Let's clear filter. And also here we may see all test cases that we executed in parallel. So all of them executed successfully. So this is what we have in the Spira dashboard tool. So new features of Rapise 7.1. There are also some selected features that I would like to highlight in this webinar. So you probably know that in Rapise, you may do execution using Windows scripting engine. So we can use Windows scripting host as a JavaScript engine for a piece, and this is the default option. But some of our customers want to use latest features of JavaScript. And for this purpose, we added support for Node.js, and it is now included with the Rapise. And if you want to switch to Node.js and you want to use it as execution engine for Rapise tests, then you need to go to JS engine type and switch to Node if you want to do this. But it's not a new feature. We added it for some time ago. The new feature is that if your test requires some Node packages to use, so now you may go to Tools and select npm console. And here you may do npm install for some modules that you want from npm. And those modules will be installed in the root of your framework. So Node modules folder will be created and everything will be downloaded there. So this feature is for those who are using Node.js with Rapise. Also in Rapise 7.0, we introduced soft assertions. So let me quickly switch to release notes. And in Rapise 7.1, we added more soft assert statements. So some of the links in the release notes are clickable. So let's click on soft assert statements link. And you may see more of them available in Rapise 7.1. So there is assert contains, ends with, this is for strings, equal, and some others. So you may see detailed description of these sections right here. Okay. So just talked about the selected features. Thanks everyone for attending today. You can always reach us at rapise@inflectra.com. And once again, thank you for attending and see you in the next webinars. Bye-bye.